Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hello Game Day podcast. We are joined by Nathan Vardy today, and it is going to be a pearl up because we have more stitch-ups than Dustin Martin has plus ones here tonight. It is going to be an absolute ripper. Don't forget, guys, wherever you're watching, make sure to follow and subscribe to us. Now, Poncho, give the great man a bit of a pump up, please.
Yeah, the pump up as per usual. So we've got the Gippsland Powerboy, picked 42 in the 2009 draft at Geelong. He played 7 seasons down at the Cattery and then moved to the Eagles in 2017 and became a premiership player. So Nathan Vardy, please give us a hello game day.
Hello game day. How you going, boys?
Going
Excellent,
good,
mate. Cannot complain at all. Now, what we like to do normally is we like to just get straight into a few stitch-ups, if that's okay with you, because it really breaks the ice and really sets the tone, if that's all right, mate.
Yeah, I suppose I've got to be all right with it, don't I? Yeah, far away. What do you got?
So we've had a lot of good sources, and I'm going to give Jakey Anderson a shout out early here because I think you might have been clued on to the fact that he's one of our sources for sure. Now, one of the ones that I'm getting is that you used to play basketball when you were younger, and you know that's to be expected with a big fella like yourself. But apparently one day before an under-14 state basketball game, you did the biggest fart, and it was so bad that you stunk out the court, and the refs couldn't come on, and the whole tournament got delayed.
Yeah, there's actually a fair bit of truth behind that. Yeah, we were getting ready, and obviously under 14s and state final stuff, and I was a bit nervous, and you know what it's like when the nerves are running, and let one go, and I held the truth for ages. I wouldn't let anyone know because everyone was like, who did that? And the whole stadium evacuated pretty much. And yeah, I don't know. It was rotten though. It was rotten. A few years later, I come and put my hand up and said, yeah, boys, that was me.
I reckon you should have taken it to your grave because there's no better feeling than doing a fart and then just having someone else blamed for it. In my view.
And just when you've done one and just waiting for the boys to get a bite of it, you know,
yeah,
you sort of stand there waiting, and then when their nose pricks up, there's no good feeling.
You just can't help but laugh out loud before it. Then you just give it. That's what I do anyway. Now, what ties perfectly into that is that you might be wondering, geez, what have you eaten to make this fart so deadly that it's delayed the whole competition? Now, one day, the story has it that you ate 28 just dim sims before one of the basketball games. Is there any sort of relevance to that?
They're spot on. Your source is spot on here. We've got this milk bar in Yarram, and all the boys, for some reason, they all had chicken schnitzel burgers, and that was the main attraction to this milk bar.
Yeah,
and
right.
For some reason, it took me years to decide that I was going to try one. Like I'm talking kid, so from sort of 7, 8-year-old to 14-year-old, and I just wouldn't try it. So I just used to eat dim sims, and I'd spend about $50 on dim sims. And yeah, one day after school, went down to the milk bar before we walked back up to the basketball stadium, and I got to 20, and then it was sort of like, all right, how far can you go? And yeah, I got to 28 dimmies. So
steamed dimmies,
fair effort, but hey,
steamed dimmies?
No, mate, they were fried.
Fried
ones. Yeah.
Jeez,
yeah.
that
and
makes
I'm not
that's
a condiment
more impressive
man at all. So there's no sauce. It was just straight salt.
Wow.
Looking back, it's rotten.
I would need steamed dim sims and soy sauce if I was even going to get remotely close to that. And I'm a mud gut, so well done there, brother. Now, you moved on to footy quickly, and I'm getting a story from Snakey again that you played in an under-15s grand final. Can you see this photo?
I can see that photo.
You and Snakey running out on the under-15s grand final. Now, the story has it that you had the job that day in silencing, but you're playing against the Inverloch Conwack Sea Eagles. You could not write that name in a book. You had the job against bustling Barry Withers, who used to stand at the top of the circle and yell, "Where do you want it?" Is there any truth to that?
There's a tiny bit of truth behind that, and the only bit is that that's what Barry Withers used to yell. Like, I was never assigned a job on Barry Withers, but yeah, for some reason he used to just scream, "Where do you want it?" But yeah, I didn't play an under-15 grand final even, so yeah, there's not a heap of truth to that one.
Oh, there's been plenty of mayonnaise. I think Snakey just wanted another shout out on the podcast because this is his
Yeah,
second
he wanted
shout
to
out
get his
now.
head on there and wanted to make it look like he played in the granny, but nah.
Yeah. Now, the Inverloch Conwax Eagles, love that name. But then your old club, you just would not read about this. The Welsh Pool Ron Woolside. Is that what it is? Devon Welsh
Devon
Pool.
Welsh Pool, one on Woodside.
Devon Welsh
that was
Pool,
it.
Ron Woodside. Sound like a tongue twister. Bit of a how much
Yeah.
wook at a wook chuck chuck. And apparently they've asked you to retire and come back and coach in your rookie year.
There was probably a little bit of truth to that one too. I got asked, but it wasn't quit AFL and come and coach us. It was, we'd love for you to come back and coach at some stage. And this was, in my first year on the list. I'm like, well, I'm hoping I'm a fair few years away from doing that just yet. But they're folded now, so there's no chance of me doing that. They're gone, no longer.
Well, it's devastating because with a name like that, they were destined for greatness. But I don't know how they've folded now. Throughout your career, juniors and now playing in AFL, you're bound to have a few good nicknames. I'm going to take you through them and just hopefully get a bit of background into them. Now, first one, ladder.
Yeah, so I've obviously been tall. I got called Ladder Man a fair bit growing up. So ladder stuck for a while. I was real skinny too. When I got drafted, I reckon I was about 80 kilos. So sort of nearly 200 centimetres and 80 kilos. Ladder seemed to stick pretty easily.
Well, it makes sense. How about stretch? Is that similar?
Stretch is similar. Yeah, I think that nearly goes hand in hand with any big bloke, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, I thought we would have gotten dim sims, but instead we've gotten beers.
Yeah, beers Vardy. I still cop that. That's pretty much the regular one from the Aaron boys. But a little bit of it was that I don't mind a beer. But one day we played a school footy game, and we borrowed the Yarram Footy Club's reserves jumpers, and I wore number 16, and that belonged to a bloke called Chris Beers. So I was running around in his jumper, and it seemed to be, here he is, Beersy, and then Beers Vardy just seemed to stick after that. But I think every time I've had a beer with the boys now, it's have a look at Beers Vardy, go, here he goes. But
that would have gone down well with the recruiters.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm lucky I'm doing this now and not 10 years ago.
Yeah. What was the one that stuck the most? Beers,
yeah. I think with the Yarram boys it has. Yeah, there's that. I don't know if you've got any more nicknames on the list.
I've got one more. It's fucking Market Vardy.
That's that or the F-Miz. I get called F-Miz by my brother because they're obviously the initials of fucking Market Vardy, but there's a little bit of a story behind that as well. There's this bloke, I won't say his name, but when I was first training with the seniors down at Devon Welsh Pool on Woodside, we did this drill, and like a bloke had to stand in, like, there's 4 cones and it's a little gap, and you have to stand inside there, and while a bloke kicks it to you, then gets a handball receive and keeps going around to each of these little cone setups. And this bloke was he was kicking to me, and I could have marked it, and instead, because I have to stay inside the cones, I could have marked it, but because I had to reach for it, I sort of let it go. And he's sort of like, he doesn't have a chin, so he sort of cocked his chin back and he's going, fucking mark it, Vardy. And from then on, everyone thought that was fucking hilarious. So fucking mark it, Vardy stuff.
That is elite. I can imagine that you just never would have lived that one down.
I was this 15-year-old kid thinking, I just let that one go, and this 30-year-old bloke just absolutely berated me. Anyway.
Hopefully the podcast can make that one stick even further with the general public.
Well, now, in the last couple of years, I haven't been able to market that well at my level now, so it probably should stick.
Well, I know what I'll be yelling at the TV. We're going to move on to your school days now. And obviously you're a competitive beast, but apparently you were so competitive in school that you wouldn't even let anybody beat you in a warm-up lap in PE.
Oh, I'd love to know who told you that, but I did. Yeah, I hated getting beaten at everything. So every time we do a warm-up lap for PE, I'd take off and show off to the girls a little bit, I suppose. And looking back, I would have looked like a fucking idiot. But yeah, I used to try and win the warm-up laps. You're right. That is true, that one.
That's awesome.
Who
Now,
told you that?
I don't have a name, but Snakey sent it into a group chat of some sort, and apparently your best mate was getting back to him with this. So you can say who your best mate might be, or if it's the wrong one, you might get yourself in hot water. So I'm not sure who it was. And then another one sent by the same bloke was that as soon as you were a sniff to get drafted, you didn't open up another textbook.
Oh, nah, I wasn't good at school from the get-go, so I don't know if I ever had a textbook open. So, yeah, I will come from a small country town. It was probably, I probably got pumped up a little bit more. It was like we sort of hadn't had anyone go to AFL ranks for years. I think the one before me was Vardy, my cousin. And he would have been 10, 15 years before me. So I started getting a little bit of airtime in the Yarram Standard News and that sort of stuff. And it probably went to my head a little bit. But, I wasn't great at school prior to starting to go all right at footy. So I don't think it got to me that well.
Yeah, well, that's actually a similar story to what Poncho did, but he just got overlooked, unfortunately.
I'm still learning how to read.
Yeah, and with me, unfortunately, my hopes of getting drafted vanished when I was about 14. So been playing twos ever since.
Did you go to school after 14?
I did. You wouldn't think
did?
so, but I did. Yeah, didn't open a textbook though. So
saw out year 12.
Just.
Yeah.
Now, this is potentially my favourite stitch up that we've ever gotten on the podcast.
Huge.
So I'm gonna share it with you. And you've made the paper for this beautiful poem that you've written.
I had a feeling tonight this was going to come out. Oh my
now,
God.
For those people just listening, I'll read the poem, and it's a beautiful piece of literature. And I'm shocked that you actually didn't pick up a book, because you've clearly got a talent with literature. The touch of your lips on mine
oh boy
makes my heart beat fast and slow at the same time forever, by Nathan Vardy. What happened, brother, with the literature career?
Yeah, it's funny that come up because my missus said, "Oh, what's the Hello Game Day all about?" So I got her on your Instagram page, and she was watching Livers, and he was talking about him liking to do poetry and that sort of stuff, and I was like, I bet you that poem comes up somewhere here tonight. I just knew it. Now, there's a little bit of a story behind that as well. It's obviously not great. It's not a great look for me. I'm probably a touch embarrassed, but I actually got suspended so we had to do, I think they're called a haiku poem. I think that's what they're called, like a 21 syllable thing or something. And I actually got suspended for plagiarizing one off the internet. So, I had to sit there with the teacher and do it, obviously properly. And so a little bit of Lynn Kerrison was the teacher, if she's watching. So I sat down.
Yeah, she's a fan.
And it got it got a little bit sloppy, I think. But yeah, I've got to live with that now. It's I think it got to run in the yearbook as well at school. So
I think that's where it got taken from. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with writing a bit of poetry, brother. We've all done it. We've all had a broken heart. We've all had a broken heart. And if you think that's bad, when I was 14, you think it's bad getting caught by a teacher. I got caught plagiarizing a poem by my girlfriend when I was 14.
Oh no! At least, there's a bit of effort in there. Surely she would have appreciated the effort.
She put the words into Google, and it was a pretty bloody good poem. So no one really thought it was me. My mum suspected the same thing, and I showed her. But my girlfriend puts it in Google, and just comes straight up, first thing that comes up. So I just got busted red-handed by a girlfriend. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, mate. It's not good, is it? It's not good.
At least mine won't resurface. But now, on school days still, word is that you used to lick all the handrails at school. Why'd you do that?
Oh. No, yeah, I did it once for fucking hell. All right, I did it once, and like I don't know why, we were just bored at school, and someone said, "I'll give you $20 if you can lick the length of that handrail," and then it just turned into like, oh, someone else was, yeah, I'll give you $20 as well. So then all of a sudden there was a crowd, and I felt like I had to do it, and I probably got that bit of show off in me, and again, like looking back, what was I thinking? Like,
Yeah,
it's just strange.
I've done a lot worse for $20, mate.
I didn't pay for. I didn't pay for lunch that day, I suppose. So that was a win. But
Mate, you would have gotten
telling
back
you
in the
this,
day. How many dim sims does that get you back in the day?
Well, I reckon dim sims are about 50 cents back then.
Yeah.
Like, they've gone through the roof.
It could have broken new records. Now, moving on from your schooling days, I've got two more for you, and they're a bit more light on, but this is still pretty funny. Apparently, when you got back home on a New Year's Eve party, you went back to your hometown, hanging out with everyone, and a couple of girls come up. You're a big footy star. They come up to you and ask you for a photo. You start posing for it, and then the girls say, they meant to say that, can you take a photo of us? And apparently you were just meant to take the photo.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, forgotten about too. I thought that was deep, very deep. But yeah, I thought I was a bit of all right. Yeah, going back, the big fish in the little pond of Yarram, and yeah, these girls come up at the pub and said, "Can we get a photo? Can you take?" I can't even remember how they put it, but whatever they said made me think they wanted a photo with me. And then, they had to correct me and say, "No, you take the phone." So that was quite embarrassing, and obviously the boys had a good laugh at that.
I'm surprised about that because Yarram is such a footy town. I reckon I'd get a photo taken of me if I came to Yarram for playing Poos footy.
Yarram, it's all lives and breathes footy. Yarram does.
And they've got some great men coming out of there. Big Jed Lamb, we've had him on the podcast as well. Stitched him up to the gills.
Oh, very good. He deserves it.
Yeah, we threw him to the Sharks. Now, the last one I've got for you is that yourself and Josh Caddy got a few tattoos of each other while you both played for Geelong. And he got a ladder for yourself, for the ladder man, and you got a bag of golf clubs. Now, apparently, Caddy is now telling everybody that his tattoo represents climbing for you to reach your goals. Has there been a falling out?
I knew he was saying that. There hasn't been a falling out. Me and Cats are still good mates, but I think because that was the first tattoo he got, so I think he's a little bit embarrassed about just having this ladder on his leg. So he had to make it sound a little bit more special. But he went with the ladder, and I've got a little golf bag. We got bored in LA, so we just went and got it inked up.
Is it readily accessible, the tattoo? Can we see it, or is it in a place that you don't want to show?
Oh, nah. I'll keep it hidden.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Fair enough.
Absolutely fair enough. Now, we've got another photo to show you, and I want to know the story behind this because it's an absolutely magnificent and dynamic lid. We've pinched it off your Instagram, so I'm sure you probably know what it's going to be when Moosey gets it up and going. Here it is. What's the story behind that? That's a pill if I've ever seen one.
Ponch, can you explain for the listeners how you would describe that?
Basically, you've got the broom up top. You know, you've kind of got just your horseman on the top, and then you got a little something hanging on the side, and it's all pretty rough and spiky. So, and the rest is just a shaved peel. So, what's the story behind that one?
Not too much. There was, how it goes, a few beers in the backyard, and someone goes, "Oh, we should get the clippers out." So, and then it just turned into, all right, who can come up with the worst hairdo? So that was sort of what I copped. It didn't last a hell of a lot longer. I think the boys are sort of calling it a bit of a pineapple sort of setup. But yeah, I probably only held on to it for a day or so and then got rid of the rest. But yeah, she was a mean cut.
That was an absolutely aerodynamic lead if I'd ever seen. Now,
Yeah.
Moose has touched on your appetite earlier, and funnily enough, I actually had 3 different sources give me 3 different stories of your appetite. So I'll just give the true or false because we have touched on this topic a lot. But one of them, the rumor has it that you inhaled 40 chicken McNuggets at a sitting at McDonald's. So can we get the truth on that?
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah,
Absolutely
I don't
true.
even need to elaborate.
Yeah, the next truth, you would order 2 footlongs at Subway and absolutely punish those. So the truth on that?
Yeah, true as well. I think there's a couple of times I tried to go for the third, but couldn't knock it over. So yeah, I did it regularly until I decided, oh, you can get double meat. I might just go with that, save yourself a bit more money.
Well, it's strategic.
So I've backed it off a bit now.
And the third one was ordering the big breakfast twice in a sitting. How do you eat so much food?
Yeah, I don't know. I grew up in the country. It's always, mum and dad always had cows and sheep and everything in the freezer, sort of killed on the land. So I never had a shortage of food. And being a bigger fella, I just kept putting it away. And I think maybe I've stretched all my organs to accommodate that.
It's probably why I've grown so tall. But
yeah, exactly.
Now, I've been asked to ask you about what happened with your old housemates in Josh Walker and George Burberry when they stole your dog Fella.
They weren't actually living with me. So Burbs lived with me for a little while, but never lived with Walks. But yeah, this was so there was a bit of stuff going on in Geelong with sort of like people going to houses and stealing dogs and to do like backyard dog fights. So it was like a bit of a problem in Geelong. So, yeah, obviously not on, and it's disgusting that it was even happening. But while this was in the news, Burbs and Walks thought it'd be a good idea while I wasn't home to go and steal my dog and then take photos of it, put it on Twitter and say $10,000 to get your dog back or they're dead, like thinking they were funny. And they said they put a couple of things in there like I love dogs or something was the handle, like little things that they think was the clues. But I've raced home. I'm calling people from the footy club, like, you know, I've got like James Kelly called me straight away because he's seen it on Twitter and he's like, mate, are you home? Like, your dog's just been stolen, like all this sort of stuff. And so it blew up. It absolutely turned into a shit show. But yeah, it's probably a little bit funny now, but at the time, like they just couldn't have picked the worst time and how they went about it.
How long did they keep the dog ransom for?
Well, because I wasn't home, it probably took me 20 minutes to get home and, yeah, they're hiding around the corner. And because I wasn't like, so when James Kelly called me, he seen it on Twitter. I hadn't even seen it on Twitter yet. And so he's called me, goes, mate, have you seen your Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And then they kept tweeting me trying to get my attention. And I'm not even paying attention. I'm just driving straight home to see if they've actually stolen my dog. And I was like, you know, frantic in the car. But yeah, they probably brought it back half an hour after I got home. But yeah, it was a strange time. Like, it was just one of those pranks gone wrong, really.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to say they kept it for a day and police got involved. So at least it wasn't as serious as that.
Well, I think that was the thing. I think they started to get the gist that it hadn't gone to plan. So otherwise they might have held on to him for a day or two.
I'm glad it didn't get escalated further than that. So we'll move on, and I've got a couple more. So another one I've heard, Matt, not only you've had a mare in your basketball days, but in your cricket days as well. So apparently you've opened the bowling for Devon Cricket Club and you've bowled a 14-ball over with a few balls not even landing on the pitch. So can you tell us a story on that?
Yeah, so I was never, so mum and dad sort of didn't see the sense of standing out on a cricket field all day during the summer. So they never I've got a couple of brothers and they never really said, yeah, you can play cricket. So I sort of started to play probably just before I got drafted. So once I sort of got my license and stuff, I started to join in and just fill in the weekends playing cricket. And I was never good at it, but I wasn't a bad bowler to start off with. And then I went back, I think in the Christmas break, my first year I was at Geelong, and I played a couple of games. And for some reason, I could not bowl. So I opened the bowling, and I literally got to the point where I had to just stand there and just roll it over. I couldn't run in anymore because I wasn't even hitting the pitch. It was literally hitting the grass. So, yeah, I'm not a cricketer. I don't think I ever will be. But, yeah, it was embarrassing. And, come back thinking I'm a bit of a right footballer, opening the bowling, embarrass myself again.
It's painful. So you're probably the 12th or even the 13th man when it comes to cricket going forward.
Oh, mate, carrying the drinks at best. That's about it.
or beers, Vardy. You'll be straight on the beers.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Only good thing I'm good at there.
So those were all the stitch-ups we had for you. And they were probably the best ones I reckon about. You were probably sweating. How many more do you have?
Oh, I know. And all of them, as I said, I thought were dead and buried, just completely forgotten about, and they just find a way to.
That's what we do best.
It's what we do best on this. I think the stitch-ups are the most important and favourite part of our little operation here. So I'm glad that
beautiful
skeletons. So moving into some more footy-based questions, and Geelong are notoriously known for being the very best when it comes to Mad Monday. So who would be the top contender when it comes to dressing up?
Obviously, yeah, Geelong's it gets documented pretty well. Their Mad Mondays, they've got the news crew there every time, and obviously Matthew Scarlett was probably the king of it while he was there. He always went the extra mile with his kits and stuff, and I think he thought pretty hard about it most of the year. So, they always say, the older boys, don't think about Mad Monday. We've got football to think about, but as soon as they rock up Mad Monday, it's like, well, you've been thinking about this for 6 months. So do as I say, not as I do sort of mantra with them. But, yeah, I think Scarlo and Corey Enright were probably the best two. And I think most people have seen that as well. They were pretty good on the beers as well. So they backed it up.
Because I was going to say, there's the best dressed, but who was in the best form usually when it came to the silly celebrations?
Yeah, those two were usually up there. Billy Smets was usually on one. He's usually up for a good time and a bit of a laugh. So he was always pretty good. And most of the boys had a crack. That was, even the guys that don't really have a beer, they're a bit more quiet during the year. That's usually their time to let their hair down as well and really enjoy it with the boys and celebrate the year that was.
Absolutely. And on a footy perspective now, I think something that was really amazing, I think especially for yourself, for some recognition, the 2018 grand final moment, and I'll get to that in a few other questions, but, if that kind of doesn't happen and you don't get that grand final moment, I don't think as many people would get to reflect on your time at the Cats. So you kind of spent a 7-year span at the category where you're restricted through injuries, and they seem to happen at the worst time. And one of them was obviously the hip injury in round 21, causing you to miss the grand final. So what was your mind frame like that in the weeks after missing out on the successful finals campaign?
Yeah, it was a tough one because it was only my second year. So obviously thought, this sucks. I've just missed out on a flag, and, I'd like to think that I would have been playing if I was fit. But I sort of had the mindset that I'll win one next year. Geelong playing in flags all the time and grand finals all the time. So I was like, I'll just get back and playing one next year. And the hip injury obviously lasted a lot longer and caused me a lot more grief than I thought it would initially as well. But it probably didn't sting that much, I think, because I just thought, we'll just win one next year. I didn't really have an understanding of how hard it was to win them. So then I think that's what made 2018 a heap sweeter in that respect, that I'd seen how hard it was, missed out on one. And then, sort of had to deal with a lot of stuff with, injuries and whatnot. And then to get one was, it's pretty special.
Absolutely. And then going further on your injury woes. Like in 2013, you have another good run of form and you get another chance at making it to a grand final, playing in the prelims against Hawthorn, and you come up 5 points short. And then not long after, your momentum of form is crushed in 2014 with the knee reconstruction, and it cost you the entirety of 2014, and then it just limits you to 4 more games over the next 2 seasons. So, as I said, it was clear the move to West Coast was such a success for yourself. But during those 3 years prior to that trade, how close were you to throwing in the towel? Because it would have just felt like those 7 years, every time you got close to the ultimate success or having a breakout season, you were just struck down with misfortune.
Yeah, the 2013 prelim sucks because I think we're up by 3 or 4 goals at three-quarter time as well and got overrun. Because I remember actually standing in the three-quarter time. Yeah, I kicked it. I think that's the only left foot snag I've ever kicked too. So it was my left leg's purely for balance. It does nothing else, to be honest. So I remember standing in the three-quarter time huddle of that prelim and thinking, oh shit, I'm going to be in the big dance next week. I thought we were home, and then next minute we're 5 points down and missed out. So that was obviously heartbreaking. But yeah, I did play. I reckon I got back from my hip, mate. I played maybe a couple of games end of 2012, and then my hip sort of caused me grief again that pre-season. I didn't play again until about around 10 or 11, I reckon, in 2013, and then was able to play most of that year. So I did think I was starting to get a good run at footy again, and obviously playing in a prelim and missing out on a grand final made me think, I'm going to come back bigger and better next year, hopefully take that next step. And then, in the pre-season, did my ACL at training. So, that sucks. And then obviously you're going to miss 12 months with that. But then I ended up having just not strange complications, but I just had to keep having clean outs. And I actually got to go to Europe and do a European summer through that year. So they let me do my off season during the footy season because I'd be able to do more during the off season. So that was probably the best part of doing my knee. Where I do 6 weeks or 7 weeks in Europe and do a European summer, when footballers just never get that chance. So that was obviously a positive out of that, but in hindsight, probably made me have an extra surgery on my knee. So that made it tough to play in the years after that. But I did probably get close to giving it away a little bit with my knee, because with my hip, I just always thought I'd get back. Because I kept having setbacks with my knee, it's just like, maybe I'm just not meant to play footy. Maybe I'm not built for it. Getting frustrated. I've seen all the guys I got drafted with, or guys that got drafted in years after me, really go ahead with their footy and play good footy and play consistent footy. And it just really felt like I was getting left behind, and I found it a really frustrating time.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most exciting thing about what happens next in your story, because, you have such a hard luck. But the trade to West Coast, you play 22 games while Lysette and Nat Nui are out for the season. Like, that season alone must have felt like such a redemption and reward after such poor luck, like playing nearly the same amount of games it took you to play 7 years prior to reach.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when I got to West Coast, it was actually the first pre-season I ever did. So I was able, a full pre-season anyway. So I think I was just able to get my body, to a point where I was able to keep playing football and build that resilience. Because I think in years previous, it was, I'd do a 4-week block of, training before I was able to join in games, because games were being played. So, to play 22 games in the first year was obviously awesome, because I got a taste of just backing up footy week after week and what it actually takes to have your body right. So I probably, I think I was 26 or something when I got to West Coast, and I sort of felt in ways that I was like a first or second year player, because there's all this stuff that I was sort of learning about playing football and playing AFL football on a regular basis that I hadn't been able to do.
Absolutely. And I feel like pushing forward to the grand final, it must have been incredible for yourself to experience the grand final week and the moment that was, it probably would have been more cherished, especially after your story of resilience.
Yeah, it was obviously an amazing time, and as with like 2011 when I missed out, I probably got lucky in 2018. I probably wouldn't have been playing if Nick hadn't got hurt. So, as much as I feel for Nick, like I've got to realise, I'm pretty lucky to be part of it. So, it was an amazing lead up to it. Obviously, it's a bit different. Like, obviously, I was sort of part of it with Geelong, sort of seeing the week, but not actually doing what they were doing. But, it was a bit different doing it from West Coast because we had to, fly over and, fly whole family over and do this. And it's all in hotels and stuff like that. And once the game actually gets played, we stay in Melbourne for the first night and then fly back on the Sunday. So it was an amazing experience. And I find myself probably thinking back to that day a lot, to be honest.
Absolutely. And could you just talk us through that moment when the final siren rang and you won, and then just some of the celebrations? Are there any stories in the aftermath of the win that you can enlighten us on, or are they just going to be just kept for the West Coast four walls?
Well, the moment the siren rang was because there was times because we were down for most of the game, and I think in the last quarter we probably peppered the goals a little bit, so we weren't getting that score on the scoreboard, and it just felt like a lot of the time it felt like we were out of time. We got to the point where it was like, we're just we're not going to win this. We've missed out, and because the runner just wasn't getting out to us enough to really say, all right, there's 5 minutes, there's 10 minutes, there's whatever it is. But it felt like the quarter had been going forever, and we just weren't kicking goals. And then obviously that play happened where Gov marked it and then went down to Dom, and Dom kicked the goal. And once we hit the front, it was like, oh, surely they don't have enough time now. So we sort of started to soak it up a little bit until Jack Darling dropped that mark in the goal square, and it was like, oh, it's going to go down the other end and we're going to get stitched up here. But we were able to hang on, and it was an amazing feeling, and just the whole day, like the lead up to the game, then the game, then you on everything you used to watch growing up, and you two would have been the same. You'd sit there and watch all the AFL grand finals, and you'd sort of you'd dream as a kid. So it was pretty amazing to then be one of those guys that was doing the lap of honour and holding the cup and all that sort of stuff. So it was pretty special. But to stories.
We didn't really prep you too much. So once again, if nothing comes to mind, that's completely fine. But there's any little side stories or anything funny that kind of happened?
Well, my favourite part probably of the celebrations was the flight home on Sunday morning. So we left the hotel, I think at about 9 o'clock. We went to the airport, and we're straight in the Virgin Lounge, and we're drinking in the Virgin Lounge and carrying on. And there's 20 seats in business class, so we got all 20 seats, and the other two boys or whatever come up as well, and they were all just making us drinks, and we were just drinking on the flight home the whole way. And that was probably one of the best moments, because it was just the 22 up there just talking shit, just having the ball, about to go home to the state where we're going to get supported and celebrated even more. And it was just a real cool time.
So I was just going to ask, obviously being a footballer is only a small part of your life, and there's so much other stuff that you've got going on. You've got your wife, Madison, as well. How long did it take you to propose to Madison?
Not wife yet. We're meant to get married at the end of the year, but obviously COVID sort of made a mess of that. So, not wife yet, but I have proposed, and it did take me a little while, but maybe four years, I think. But I was probably getting the hurry up a little bit, but just wanted to do it in my time.
Yeah, exactly right. And how did you guys meet?
I played footy with her twin brother, Billy, at Geelong. Is that what you're getting at something here? I can feel
No,
it.
no, not at all. Not at all. I was actually just curious because it's the same last name. I assumed it was Billy Smith's sister or sister.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Nice.
So
We've buttered
that's
you
how
up
we
too
met.
much.
Yeah, I know. Now I feel like
You're on
it's
edge.
all going to come crumbling
Mate,
down
the
again.
pitch-ups are gone, I promise.
Yeah, all right. So we're just having a conversation now.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And you've obviously
yeah.
now you've got your 1-year-old child. And I asked you before we started the podcast how the name's pronounced, because when I saw it, I thought Bo, but it's actually Bo. B-O.
Yeah, it's Bo. Well, what does OH spell?
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's Bo. So he's our little man, and he's getting pretty full on now. He's running around and going crazy, but it's pretty fun being a dad. I'll give you the hot tip. Don't know about you boys. Have you got any kids or?
No, mate. I'm
off. I thought I was too, but I'm glad I pulled the trigger, mate.
I was going to say, because one of the things I love asking blokes on the podcast who have had kids is just like, because I haven't had any kids yet, but everyone seems to just light up when they talk about their kids and like the experience of having kids and what sort of perspective it's given them. And I was wondering, like, what kind of perspective has it given you?
I think, especially for footballers, like, you know, we got a fair few ups and downs with what we do, you know, whether it's, you know, it's injuries or whatever, or just literally you played a bad game. I think every time you come home, it's probably similar to a dog, but, you know, your kids don't care. Like, they come home, they're still smiling, they're still happy to see you, and I think it's a good chance to just forget about things that suck in life, because they're just so happy and so innocent. And I think that's probably what I've enjoyed the most, because sort of footy is such a roller coaster sort of ride. I think being able to come home and just have this little kid that just obviously depends on me so much, but just loves me as well. And, you know, nothing seems to really worry him. So I think just having that rub off on me is pretty special.
That's awesome, man. And obviously, your fiance Madison is your best friend as well. And you guys are both loving it together. What are your parental tactics, and what are you looking to get out of? I think little one.
I think we're trying to just make it up as we go. I think because we're over in Perth and neither of us have got family over here, so you know, it's probably been pretty hard. We've been left to ourselves and maybe a few FaceTime calls or whatever, trying to get tips if he doesn't go to sleep or whatever. But yeah, I think at the moment we're just literally just making it up as we go and hoping for the best. He's sort of testing us a little bit at the moment because he doesn't understand the word no, and we're just like, I think that it's a good idea to yell at him, but then Maddie will say, oh, why don't you just try and speak to him nicely and see if he listens to that and stuff like that. So every sort of few months, the kids change and they do things differently and they're a bit smarter and they test the boundaries a bit more. And I think that's probably the best bit. It's just you got to keep trying to make it up and grow on the run as well.
Yeah, well, mate, obviously got a lot going on for you at the moment in terms of your recovery from your injury and you know, having a 1-year-old kid and a fiance. So congratulations and thank you so much for making the time for us, because we really appreciate it. And apologies for all of the stitch ups, but you just had too many. We were knocking them back. We were beating them off with sticks.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, boys. It was a bit of a trip down memory lane that I didn't really want to take. So no, I really appreciate it.
Once again, mate, thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, you're taking this on like a champ, and we've really gone hard on you. But yeah, this has been a great insight because you've been the first West Coast player we've had. So truthfully, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.